for watching. Today we're going to go ahead and do a video on being able to create an application that will automatically install and create the database on a local machine for you. This is helpful so you don't have to use a server-space database and stuff along those lines. You absolutely can use a server-space database, but we will not cover that today. So let's go ahead and basically we're going to create a new project. This is a console app, and we're just going to call it create database app. Alright, and the solution name is going to be the same except for solution. S-O-L, oops, U-T-I-L-N. Okay. So, and we're creating. And this actually does take a few minutes to do. But there's a couple parts that the work does it for you, or the installer does it for you, and we'll pause through that part so you don't have to sit here and watch it. Alright, so first off, we're going to go ahead and create another class here, and it's going to be called queries. And I'm using ReSharper. You don't have to, that's just what I'm using. So, alright, it's called queries. Let's make it automatically makes it public, which is great. Now we're going to add a few constants here. First of all, we and this is going to be database string. Right? So let's go at and say server name. That's actually just server, I'm sorry. And this is the name of the machine that it's going to be on. If you're doing it on a production app, I would create a function that figured this out with something like environment.machine-name. But for now, we're going to go ahead and use the name is going to be Windows 7. Oops. And this is okay. So we need a semicolon, and then we're going to say trusted connection equals true, and I probably spelled that wrong. C-O-N-N-E-C-T-I-O-N, which is right. Okay, so and then now we're going to say database is master. Okay. Now we're going to say we're going to have another one called public. And actually, what you could probably do is just copy this. It might be easier to do that. And put them down here. And now let's call this table string. Alright, now we want to call this, we're going to just call it my database. And again, if you wanted, you could create a function to do that, but it's just as easy to do that. So, now we're going to create another constant, which is public const string, and this is going to be create database, which is literally just, which is going to just be called create. Sorry. It's going to be my database. Now this right here absolutely has to be the same as this. Just letting you know. Okay. And that's that's just about as easy as it gets. SQL Server will absolutely do what you want. So we want to also do a public const string, and this is going to be create table. So right now we want to say create table, and this is going to be called, I don't know, people. Oops. And then we're going to open it and hit enter. And we're going to go ahead and say first name. Oops. And it's going to be a varchar. And last name. You can make it however big you want. And this is going to be the ID. It's going to be an int. Sorry, I can't type, guys. We're going to make it a primary key. And we're going to make it identity. E-N-T-I-T-Y. Alright, and then we're going to close our parenthesis from before. Alright, now that's just as basic as it gets. Let's actually go ahead and do that. And let's go ahead and hit enter. And let's just add, I don't know. Let's add 2 people. So we're going to say insert, I-N-S-E-R-T, into, it's going to be people, and it's going to be first name. Oops. And it's going to be last name. And we're going to say values. V-A-L-U-E-S. And we're going to say John Doe. And we're going to do Jane Doe as well. Oops. So that's just going to insert 2 people for us, right? And that's, well, that's all we need for this. And then we will also add one more, and we're going to say check and we're going to say check database. Equals, and we're just going to say select SELECT star from people, and that's all we're going to do there. And I mean, it's just going to allow us to, basically prove to you that it does work. Okay, so let's get started. Let's create a static function or method that's void, and we're going to call it create database. I'm sorry. Oh, can't type today. Sorry about that. Alright, now we're going to say using, and we're going to say var SQL connection, or new SQL, or we'll just call it con equals new SQL connection. Alright, and inside him we want to put queries dot create database database string. That's the one I want. Alright, and then we're going to say using, and this is going to be command. Oops. SQL CLM. Alright, and let's say we're going to have we're going to say command text is equal to queries dot create database, and we're going to have command type, which is going to be command types dot text. Now let's also let's go ahead and do a try, and E. So let's just create a quick function here that's going to write lines for us, because we're doing a lot of that. So we're going to say static void and we're going to say write. W R I T E. Oh, man. String. Sorry for my terrible S-O-C-H-E. Alright. So now let's say message. Alright. So now let's say write. And we're going to say u.message. Alright, now let's first off, let's go ahead and start writing this. Let's sorry, I gotta think here. So we got our try. Let's go ahead and say write, and we're gonna say something like I don't know, let's say connecting. You could put that in a constant if you wanted, but I'm not going to. Alright, and then let's also have dot open, and then let's have write that says connected. Alright. And now let's do creating database. Now let's say cmd dot execute non-query, and then write. Let's go ahead and say database created. Alright. And let's just there we should be fine there. You don't really need to close or dispose of the connection, because you're actually doing that by using the using statement. So let's not worry about that. Let's go ahead and just say create database. Alright, now the next one, we want to go ahead and say create tables. Right? Let's go ahead and create a method. Alright, so, and I did that by pushing control period enter, and that will do all the writing for you. So let's just make him private as well. Might as well. Just to, be, so we're going to say using, and actually what we could do, we're going to say var equals new SQL connection. Alright, and this is going to be tables, queries, I'm sorry, tables. Alright, and this is going to be using, this is going to be var cmd equals new say command type is text. Alright, now let's go ahead and say write. Go ahead and say creating tables. Connecting, I'm sorry. And write oops. I did wild by mistake. Alright, now let's go ahead and say alright, and cmd dot we want to say execute non-query. Then we want to say write, and we're going to say connect, created. Alrighty, that should do it. Oh, and then we also wanted to do a check as well. So let's go ahead and say private static void string void, and we're going to say check database. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and say using it's queries, tables. Alright, and now let's say using no, that's not what we want. SQL command. Say connection equals then we want to say command text is, I can't remember what we called it, queries dot check database, and then we're going to go ahead and say command type is command type text. Alright, so now let's go ahead and say open. Alright, and now we're going to go ahead and say var an adapter ADAPTER equals new SQL adapter data adapter, I'm sorry. Alright, and we're also going to var table just call it data table equals new data table. Alright, now let's go ahead and say adapter.command. No. Okay, so it would be adapter dot select command equals cmd, and then we say adapter dot fill, and we say dt. Alright, now we can say for each, let's say dt.rows, and we're going to say row, and we're going to go ahead and say, let's think here, we want to say var name equals row dot field. This needs to be data row. Actually, you have to row dot field, and this is going to be a string, and the name of it is first name, and then we're going to also just go ahead and add a space. You can do it however you want, but I'm just doing it this way. Row dot field string last name. Alright, and then we want to say right name. Alright, and okay, that should do it. Oh, we also got to say create. I'm sorry. Check. Nope. What's it called? Check database. Oh, there it is. Alright, so let's go ahead and save him and get rid of our namespaces at the top here. Let's go ahead and go to build and publish. Oh, but we messed up because we got to do this first. So this, let's go ahead and hit open on properties here. Startup project. Let's go to publish. Actually, you can change your icon to whatever you want. I'm going to leave it to none or default. Let's go to publish and prerequisites. Scroll down, and we're going to find SQL Server Express 2012 is what we're doing on this one. Right now 2014 is not actually in the list, but you know, 2012 is pretty good as well, so I'm sure they'll actually add it eventually. As you can see, they had 2008. Alright, so we go ahead and do that, and now let's go ahead and hit publish now, and it takes about a few seconds. This pops up. Alright, so you see we have our publish folder, and we're going to go to this is a share folder that I have here called projects. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to paste it in here. Alright, you see he's here. Here's another machine that I have. I'm remoted into. I've built it on my server here. This is to test it. You can see we have no SQL Server installed here at all. Everything's been uninstalled. Let's go ahead and go to projects and drag and drop publish onto the desktop. Alright, we're going to close him out, and we hit setup. Now you see where it's asking us to go ahead and install it. I'm going to hit accept, and once you hit accept, it's going to download the required files and install SQL Server. Okay, this takes about 10 to 15 minutes to do, so I'm going to hit pause, and I'll come back after it's been installed. Okay, so it's done now, and this pops up. It says, do you want to go ahead and install it? You hit install, and it runs your application, and it threw an exception, probably because the data client. But let's look. Okay, let's try it again. Oh, so it looks like I must have. Okay. I'm just going to hit pause and sort this out. I'll be right back. Okay, so the reason why was because I had messed up and put create table as my query as opposed to create database. Alright, so that should fix that problem. Go ahead and save it. We'll rebuild. We'll republish, I'm sorry. And we'll finish. And it's going to come up. Alright, let's go ahead and move him on over. Here he is. Let's delete this one. Okay, so he's there. Let's go back to here and let's delete this publish here. Publish. Go ahead and run setup. And you see that it worked. Now, if you want to make sure that it is going to work, you can actually go ahead, or you want a few minutes to actually look and see that it did work. What we'll do, we'll go ahead and say console.read line. Alright, and we'll hit that. Let's hit save. Let's hit publish. Finish. He's going to come up. We'll copy him. We'll go to projects, delete him, paste. Okay, let's go back to him and close. Drop him in here. Double click him. Oops, well, we want to copy him over. And setup runs again. Shit. Oh, it's because it already existed. It's because the database already existed. So what we have to do there, let's leave him there. So now we need to go to projects. We're going to go ahead and go to, and it's in program files, SQL Server, Express, MS SQL, and then data, and then you will see my database log and my database. Let's just delete it and say OK. Let's go ahead and run. Alright, let me get this sorted out. I'll be right back. Okay, so I found the issue. The issue was I already had the database installed from the previous time we had tested, and I didn't delete it, so that was the reason. And then so what I had to do, I had to go download actually Visual Studio, or I'm sorry, SQL Server Management Studio, and drop the database that way, rather than deleting the actual file because it's still attached and it thinks it is. And I didn't really want to write a bunch of SQL to check if it existed, because if it already exists, you're probably not creating it. So that said, here is the queries that I actually looked at, and none of this has changed. So let's go ahead and run it again. Publish and set up, and it checks. It does make sure that they're there. Jane Doe, John Doe, tables have been created, etc., etc. And we can now close the program. And just to prove again, we open Visual Studio Management Studio, connect, and databases. Here's our database. Here's our table. Select top 1000, and Jane Doe and John Doe is there. Just to prove again that it does work, we are going to go ahead and right click, delete, close all connections, close, and now it is no longer there. We'll refresh just to prove it, close him out, run. Either way, and he's there, and he is here again. There's that. Alright, so we actually do have a working app, and thanks for watching. Sorry for the few bugs, but I think we got them worked out. Alright, have a wonderful day.